Hey, you guys, how's it going? Good evening. Hey, Sam. Hey, Molson Man. Hey, Sugar Beet. Hey, Amelia Sparkles. Hello, Anaphylaxis. Hello, Jody is cool. How's everybody doing tonight? Glad you guys could be here. Hi, Sugar Beet. Did I say hi, Sugar Beet? I feel like I didn't. I don't know. You guys know how I am with the hellos. I always worry that I'm forgetting somebody. Oh. Hey, Rachel. Oh, thank you very much. I'm glad you like it. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. I'm tired, you guys, and sad. Oh, I'm glad everybody's doing good. Good. I'm glad it's can't even talk. I'm a little sad, I'm a Texan and I just happened to chill here in the Floridas, but that school shooting is devastating. So my prayers, my thoughts, my heart is with the families tonight and the state of Texas. It's just anytime there's a shooting like that or loss of life, especially children. Children are particularly difficult. It's just a sad story. It's just a sad situation. It really is. And I know, Max. Hey, Heather, whatever. I know. It's awful. It's just awful. And um, there's no words really to, you know, there's no words to really like discuss it. And so, and you guys know that it's real hard for me anyways, just, generally to speak about feelings. I'm not very comfortable with it. So I'm extra fumbly because sad is the one feeling that's almost that for me is probably sad and love are the two most difficult feelings for me to express. So they make me the most uncomfortable, but I'm glad we're all here tonight. I'm glad you guys are here with me. I'm glad everybody is safe and well, you know. So I um so who watched the trial today? Because let's just let's try to um just get off of that subject just because it's so sad. And let's talk about this trial that, also is problematic and has higher level implications in the world, as it were, especially in the United States. And here we go. What did you guys think? Let me skip forward. All right, that's trying to find the spot. Let me go get chat real quick. There was a lot of really good stuff to talk, that was covered today. And what I'll say is that I have to agree that the rebuttal was, hold on a second. This is one of the best rebuttals I've seen in a very, very long time. And I say that because, um, I mean, the truth of it is, I this is what I wanted to see in the rebuttal. I wanted them to bring it back to the reason that we're in court in the first place, which is the op-ed article. And I thought that Johnny's team did an excellent job of picking um, the right rebuttal witnesses, because that's important. And I thought that they used their time extremely well, because they got in and they got out. They asked the questions that needed to be asked, and they didn't belabor the point. Once the point was made, they were done, in and out. And I absolutely, I was so impressed with this. But what I want us to go over is um the witness that we were listening to this morning, before. No, it's not getting any stronger anaphylaxis at all. I want to go over the witness that we stopped with this morning, that ended at the lunch break, and we're going to talk about his testimony, because he directly refutes the Twitter analysis, the social media analysis. And homeboy, he brought charts, and I love a chart. So I I I I was thrilled with his testimony, and then I started my research. Okay, so remember when this morning the president of Warner Brothers, in charge of the DC movies, right, testified. And he talked about, basically, there's not like an exit interview when a film wraps. And so there's no HR person taking down notes. There's not a paper trail of things that are discussed between, the production company and the actors and, everyone who worked on the movie, right? And so basically, he was saying that there had been conversations between he and Jason Momoa about the lack of chemistry between Amber Heard and Jason Momoa. And re- he also wanted to make it clear that when he was talking about chemistry, he's talking about actual chemistry between the characters. What we see on the film in the film, right, Aquaman, is the result of editing and scoring, which is the music. And it was not palpable. Like I'll give you an example. Like because I know everybody's going to remember this movie, Edward Scissorhands. The majority of people, including me, were excited to go see Edward Scissorhands because of Johnny Depp and Winona Ryder's relationship. And their chemistry was palpable on screen, and it had nothing to do with, you could mute it. You could mute the audio, and you could still tell the chemistry between the two of them. It wasn't editing. And so I thought and then there was some talk about Zack Schneider, and because he's the person who worked on the Justice League, and that he also felt that there was not chemistry between Amber Heard and Jason Momoa. So I decided, well, hey, not your mama. Yeah, Steve Martin. Steve Martin. I don't remember Steve Martin being on the stand. Richard Marx took the stand. If you're talking about, I don't know. I don't know who Steve Martin is. Okay. Anyway, I got off on a whole thing. Okay, so I decided to see if there is a difference between the original released Justice League and the re-release of Justice League titled Zack. Is it Schneider? Yeah, Zack Schneider's Justice League. Okay, because the original film was a compromise between the production company and Zack Schneider, right? So that's why the film is 2 hours long, okay? And the re-release is 4 hours long. So it's 2 hours of additional footage, and the scenes are different. They're reworked. Some of them are exactly the same, but this if he had, this was Zack Schneider's way of having the run of it all. Total control. Nobody told him what to do. No making compromises. Okay. And I was curious to see if he changed anything, because there's only one scene with Amber Heard in it. Okay. And it's like the total time is 7 minutes. Okay. That she's actually on screen, but she only speaks, and she speaks to Jason Momoa for, I don't know, I think like 2, I'll give her 3 minutes at most, and that's it. So I'm curious if, so I've done that. That's the first part of I didn't have time in between the live and making dinner and all that stuff to watch the 4-hour one, but I will, and I'll get back to you guys, because I'm very, very curious if he clips her scene or edits it in any way, shape, or form. That's what I'm curious about. And I was thinking, well, let me also watch Aquaman, because I was super impressed with Mr. Mark's testimony. He's the chart guy. Oh, Christopher Lloyd. Oh. Okay. Maybe I'm missing one. I don't know. Let me just stay focused. Something is wrong with me. All right. Anyway, so I thought, well, I need to do the correct, I need to factor in all of the things. But what I had forgotten about is, first there's Justice League, the original, then Aquaman, then the re-release, right? So he would have been basing his assessment off of Aquaman as well. So now I'm super curious about the 4-hour one. And I don't know if I'm going to watch Aquaman, because I don't actually think that's necessary to collect the data, right? But so anyway, I want you guys to watch his testimony. And then I watched a little bit this afternoon. Not much though, so I have no idea who testifies after this, although I do know that there is the owner of the trailer hotel thingy in Hicksville, not in Hicksville, the trailer hotel Hicksville, in California that Amber and Johnny and her friends went to for that over the weekend or whatever, when all the things happened, or the one things. Anyway, yeah. So I know he testifies. I just don't know what order it's in, because I only watched I like watched a little bit of his testimony on like 2 times speed. And so yeah. Are we ready? Should we start? I wish I could get let me page criminality, because the graph guy, like, she's gonna want to watch the chart guy. Okay. And the other thing I was impressed with, as far as the rebuttal witnesses went, is that they were able to discuss, they were essentially rebutting Amber's expert testimony, Amber's expert witness testimony. Okay. And they started out with the president of Warner Brothers, and then they interviewed, or then they had on the stand the entertainment lawyer who actually has negotiated deals, and they all rebutted um, the female that did it, whose name escapes me right now, but they repeat it like 11 billion times in the questioning. So I'll remember it in a minute. And then they had right before they had the Twitter person on, they had a forensic accountant on, and he broke it all the way down, about how he arrived at Amber Heard's earning potential, and why the person who testified for her on her behalf, why their calculations were wrong. I mean, it was just beautiful, and it was done in a way that anybody who's listening to it can understand exactly what's happening. All right, so without further ado, here we go. Oh, probably helpful if I unmuted it.
Okay, so you can.
Hi, criminality.
So just a reminder that you're still under oath, okay, sir?
Probably Shmita. I don't know. I saw a mom and a toddler.
Good afternoon,
in
Mr.
line.
Banya.
Good afternoon.
Can you briefly reintroduce yourself to the jury, please?
Yes, hi, Doug Banya.
Doug Banya.
I am from Nevium Intellectual Property Consultants based in San Diego. I value intellectual property. I provide litigation support in infringement and defamation cases, as I'm doing today. And I use internet and social media analytics and both of those services.
Since you last testified,
Teresa, if you want to come up, here's the link.
Ronald Schnell and Catherine Arnold. Are you familiar with their testimony?
Yes.
Were you asked to analyze their testimony and provide opinions in response?
Yes, I was.
Have you formed opinions in response to the testimony of Mr. Schnell and Ms. Arnold?
I have.
Generally, what are those opinions?
Generally, Mr. Schnell provided no evidence of a correlation between the Waldman statements and the hashtags and the spikes of those hashtags on Twitter. Second, based on my internet and social media analytics investigation, I've concluded that the alleged comparable actors that Ms. Arnold came up with are not comparable with Ms. Heard. And then thirdly, Mr. Schnell and Ms. Arnold both failed to provide any evidence of a causation as it relates to the Waldman statements
Okay, babe.
causing any economic harm to Ms. Heard.
Let's dig into those opinions a little bit. You're familiar with the testimony of Mr. Schnell that there are more than 2.7 million alleged negative tweets related to Ms. Heard between January 2018 and June 2021?
Yes.
And what's your understanding of how Mr. Schnell identified those particular 2.7 million tweets?
Yeah, so essentially Mr. Schnell chose hashtags that he felt were negative towards Ms. Heard. Those hashtags range from Justice for Johnny Depp Amber Heard is an abuser, Amber Turd, and the hashtag, we just don't like you, Amber.
I'm
So then he
sorry.
used those
I knew that was
hashtags, and
coming.
he searched through,
I need to
using
mute.
the Twitter API, searched through various tweets, and then came up with any tweets that were using those hashtags.
Did you conduct an analysis of those tweets?
Yes, I was given that exact, the data that Mr. Schnell used on hard drive. So yes, I dug into that data as well.
And what was the purpose of your analysis?
So what I'm trying to do, and what's at issue of the case today at this point is, were these tweets, did they contain the Waldman statements? That's what where we're at right now, are the Waldman statements. So I wanted to analyze those tweets to determine which ones, and if any, contain the Waldman statements.
And what's your understanding of what the Waldman statements are?
So my understanding is there's three Waldman statements that were published in the Daily Mail. The Daily Mail is a UK tabloid, and Mr. Arnold was quoted in three of those articles. And those dates were on April 8th, 2020, April 27th, 2020, and on June 24th, 2020. And my understanding that
Yeah, I sped him up a little bit.
Those quotes.
You want me to slow him down?
Sorry, I think I said the wrong name, but those quotes are the only.
He's at
remaining,
1.25.
Did you analyze the timing of the tweets that we were talking about as compared to the timing of the Waldman statements?
And that's exactly what I did. So I wanted to look at the Waldman statements, look at the dates that they happened, and then analyze those as compared to the Twitter data that I had.
Have you prepared a demonstrative that reflects that aspect of your analysis?
Yes.
Okay, good. Okay.
Your Honor, may I approach?
I can't, you guys, I'm sorry. I know this is immature of me, but I don't really care. The truth of the matter is, anytime an expert witness gets up on the stand and testifies to the hashtag Amber Turd, it's never going to not be funny. I'm sorry. It will always be funny. I will always giggle. And that's just the way it is. I'm sorry, but I'm not sorry. Hey, Heather, whatever. Yeah, I had to speed them up just a little so we can, because I want you guys, there's a ton of stuff tonight and I want to get to it and through it. Oh, good. Anaphylaxis. I found my people. I really feel like I did find my people, because it's just never going to not be funny for me. I'm always going to laugh.
And can be published to the jury.
That might be the last memory I have, like right before I pass away. I might
Mr. Bond,
remember
can you
this
explain to the
guy on
jury
the
what this
stand
demonstrative
talking
shows?
about
Yes.
hashtag Amber Turd
So
and
this
laugh.
shows the total hashtags and tweets that Mr. Schnell was analyzing. This is the summary data. There are tweets that are running from January 2018 to June of 2021. And again, these are related to four hashtags that I discussed. Whenever I get an assignment such as this, when I'm dealing with a defamatory statement that's allegedly gone viral online, where there's economic damages involved and there's a lot of data involved, I like to take the data and I like to do a 30,000-foot view of the data to see what I'm looking at, to see if there's anything interesting, odd, different about the data. And the first thing that I notice is 35% of the tweets were prior to the Waldman statements. So again, remember, my assignment is to determine if the Waldman statements are part of the tweets that Mr. Schnell analyzed. So obviously, if these tweets were prior to the Waldman statements, in no way could they have anything to do with the Waldman statements. So that was the first issue that I noticed. Then I noticed what I like to call kind of the alleged defamatory time frame. And as I discussed, that's when the Waldman statements were published. That's the date down here. The first one was in the beginning of April, and the last one, which is the third one, was at the end of June. But what I found interesting is only 2% of all of the tweets happened during this Waldman statement period. So really, these are just observations. And for me, there were red flags that I made note of, and then I just continued with my analysis.
What other work have you performed in connection with forming your opinions about the purportedly negative tweets?
Yeah, so now I realize that 35% are irrelevant and 2%, only happened during this important period. I just continued to dig into the 2.79 million tweets that Mr. Schnell provided.
And Tom, can we take that one down? And Mr. Bonney, have you prepared another demonstrative that depicts that analysis that you were just describing?
Yes.
Your Honor, may I?
Okay, yes. Okay, we'll just give you a subject. I'll give you time to look at it, sir. All right, plaintiffs, could you turn on your microphone? Sorry.
No objection as a demonstrative.
Okay, all right. Plaintiffs Exhibit 1294 will be marked for identification as a demonstrative and will be published to the jury.
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Bynum, can you explain what this demonstrative shows?
Yes, this is showing the various spikes as it relates to the hashtags that Mr. Chanel testified about. This is actually an exhibit or a demonstrative that he used in his testimony. What this is showing are the largest spikes related to the hashtag Justice for Johnny Depp. I don't know if you remember his testimony or any of his demonstratives. The other three hashtags did spike at the same time, but a very small spike. So what I'm showing you here are the 6 top spikes in Mr. Chanel's analysis. And what's important here again is the very first spike and the largest spike again happened before the Waldman statements. So what I'm trying to figure out is what tweets were related to the Waldman statements. So this number 1 spike, which is the biggest spike, was prior to the Waldman statements. So it's irrelevant to the case. And then the second thing I noticed that was interesting here is here are the dates in gray right here. This is the time in which the Waldman statements happened. And you're going to notice, as we discussed before, only 2% of the tweets happened during that time. But I found it very interesting for such a viral event that has potentially caused such economic harm. There's no spikes in this area. And actually, you're going to see that Mr. Waldman, his statement came out here in the first April 2020 article. Then the second one came out here. And then the third one came out in June. There's actually a downward use of the spike, downward use of the hashtags. So I'm not seeing any correlation as it relates to the Waldman statements and any spikes here as it relates to the hashtags Mr. Chanel chose.
Did you analyze each of the spikes that are depicted here?
Yeah, so what I did is I looked at the 6 different spikes, and you're going to notice that each spike represents a month. So the second spike, is July of 2020, and so on to the 6th spike going to April 2021. And what I did is, I don't know if you remember my last testimony when I went into Google search, and I'm able to go into Google search. I went in and I typed in Amber Heard. And then after you hit search, you can use the tool and you can go back in time. And I chose each 6 of these dates to go back in time to see what was the media talking about back then. What was the general public being fed as it relates to Amber Heard back during those spikes. And what I found is none of them, well, I actually analyzed the top 3 search results because they represent 50 to 70% of what people click on. And I realized that none of them had anything to do with the Waldman statements.
Are you aware of Mr. Chanel's testimony that the tweets using the 4 hashtags he looked at were mathematically correlated?
Yes.
What does that mean?
So what Mr. Chanel is saying, which is irrelevant to this case, is the 4 hashtags that he randomly chose, they tend to go up and down together. And that's why he had these spikes here. So the correlation there is how those 4 hashtags work or dance together going up and down. But first of all, the hashtags have nothing to do with the Waldman statements. And the fact that there's a correlation with the hashtags is irrelevant to this case because we're dealing with the Waldman statements, which none of that correlation analysis he did had to do with.
How do you know that the correlation doesn't have anything to do with the Waldman statements?
Can I clear this at all? No. Oh, yeah. Well, first of all, I know because that would happen right here. If when Mr. Waldman, one of his quotes was published, you would see a big spike right here. And then you would see maybe a little noise down here. And then the third time you might see second time a big spike, and the third time a big spike. That's not here. So that's telling me there's no correlation between the Waldman statements and this hashtag use. And then I've actually provided evidence that there's no correlation because I analyzed each of these spikes and none of them had to do with the Waldman statements.
Is mathematical correlation the same as causation?
No.
Why not?
I mean, correlation is simply a relationship between 2 or more variables or 2 or more things. In this case, the correlation question is, when the Waldman statements were published at the same time, did you see a correlation with spikes in these hashtags? And again, you Can we clear this? You see none of that right here. It's actually a downward trend. There's no spikes, there's no correlation. So, again, Mr. Schnell provided no evidence of any correlation.
What correlation opinion did he provide during his testimony?
Well, he provided the correlation that the 4 hashtags, spike together. But again, the hashtags have nothing to do with the Waldman statements, and the facts that they're correlating or moving together is irrelevant to the case because the case is about the Waldman statements.
So what is causation then?
So causation is where one thing causes a change in the other. So as it relates to this case, did the Waldman statements cause Ms. Heard to have economic harm? In other words, did the Waldman statements cause Ms. Heard not to make as much money in her career? And again, Mr. Schnell provided no evidence of this. Ms. Arnold provided no evidence of this. And as a matter of fact, during Ms. Arnold's testimony yesterday, she didn't even know what causation was. She was asked, the difference between causation and correlation, and she said that she's not a semantics expert. We're not talking about the words. When it comes to damages, you have to prove causation prior to calculating damages. So there's no causation that's proven here. Therefore, a damages analysis is not appropriate.
This is the
Did you hear
sickest
Mr. Schnell
burn
testify
ever.
that he agreed with your opinion in this case?
Yes.
And what's your understanding of the opinion that he agreed with?
Well, he agreed that he failed to link the spikes in the hashtags on Twitter to the Waldman statements.
Did he try to do that?
Well, he tried to do that. But again, his analysis was looking at the word Waldman and looking at the word Waldmanian, and then trying to say that 25% of the tweets included those 2 terms. But first of all, Waldman isn't the issue here. It's the Waldman statements. And Waldmanian, I don't even know what that is, but it's not relevant to this case.
I'm sorry.
Mr. Banya, what other work have you done in connection with forming your opinions about Mr. Schnell's testimony?
Again, the assignment was to determine if the Waldman statements were part of the tweet. So I continued to dig in, to the data. I believe the next step is, now that I've excluded, the 35% that was before the Waldman statements because they were irrelevant, I wanted to really analyze from the April 2020 forward to see if any of those tweets, contained the Waldman statements.
They
demonstrative that reflects that analysis that you did.
Yes, I did.
They absolutely are anaphylaxis, and that is the key element that it's one thing to have the data, it's one thing to have the evidence, it's one thing to have the
Any
information,
objections?
but if
No
your
objection.
witnesses cannot
Mark
convey
notification
that
as plaintiffs 12,
information
85,
and testimony to the jury, it's pointless.
So, Mr. Banya, did you consider the content of the statements made by Waldman as part of the work that you did?
Yes. Yeah, so here I
Let me
reviewed the
remove
Waldman
my
statements again.
thing
And what
real
I
quick.
wanted to do
Sorry, you guys.
is I wanted to determine what, if any, tweets included the Waldman statements. So what I went back to the Waldman statements, and I came up with key terms and key themes for those Waldman statements, which are listed here. The Waldman statements were about abuse hoax, sexual violence hoax, and fake sexual violence. So what I did is we're now dealing with a 1.2 million tweets because we're starting in April 2020 because that's when the Waldman statements started. And what I did is I searched the 1.2 million tweets, for these 3 phrases, and I determined that there were 751 tweets that included those key terms. Which is 0.06% of the 1.2 million. And then as I was sifting and sorting and analyzing this data, I realized that a lot of these tweets had the exact same language.
I know, and I'm
It was
finding it
interesting
hard
see
to
it was exact
contain
same
myself.
tweet
Hey,
because I'm
Charlie, good
analyzing
to
the
see you,
language
babe.
see if it matches one of these 3. I
Glad you
realized
slid
that
in.
A lot of these tweets were retweets, likes, or shares. So therefore, I eliminated any of those, and it came down with 95 unique tweets. And then what I did from there is I analyzed those to determine if any of these terms were in there. And I identified 5 tweets that were related to the Waldman statements.
Do any of the hashtags Mr. Schnell analyzed include the words from the
Oh,
Waldman
she is
statements?
writing a whole novel over
No,
there.
they don't. And, because I'm rebutting Miss Arnold, her testimony yesterday, she was saying that the Waldman statements caused these hashtags. Then throughout her testimony, she walked that back and admitted, no, none of these tweets have anything to do with the Waldman statements. They don't include the Waldman statements. These hashtags are only hashtags that Schnell, in his opinion, felt that they were negative towards Ms. Heard.
Based on your expertise, what are your overall opinions?
Oh,
about
you
Mr.
know they
Schnell's
do.
testimony and the Twitter hashtag data?
Mr. Schnell provided no evidence that any of the tweets were related to the Waldman statements. Mr. Schnell, there's no correlation there. He also provided no evidence that there's any causation that, the Waldman statements caused any economic harm towards Ms. Heard.
Your Honor, I'm about to switch to a different topic. I don't know if you want to break now or push
All right, it's going to be a little while, I assume.
a little bit more. Yes,
Okay.
yeah.
Let's go ahead and break for lunch, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, do not discuss the case and do not do any outside research, okay?
And while they break for lunch, we're going to have a little comedy break because y'all need to see this. I'd like to thank friend and family to the channel, Nacho Mama, for sharing this with me so that I could then share this with you guys because you must see this. So please be patient while I add this to the stream. Are you ready? Is it working? Let me make sure it's added to the stream. Yes, yes, yes. Okay. Here we go.
Do I have to answer that question, Your Honor?
You have to answer questions. Yes, sir.
I can't. I don't know how to make it stop. Oh, there we go. One more time.
Do I have to answer that question, Your Honor?
You have to answer questions. Yes, sir.
All right. Ben Chu's face when he said, do I have to answer that, Your Honor? Oh my gosh. I can't. I'm telling you guys, I don't know why Amber Heard's people be trying to trifle with the internet. The internet remains undefeated. Hold on. All right, I'm going to mute this real quick. Speed it through lunch. I mean, that poor psychiatrist. That's his heart. He's going to be a meme. So many memes to be made from that. So many. Bruh, how long is this? All right. All right, hold on. I'm getting there. I promise. I even am employing Dr. B's new trick because I went too far. Oh my God. All right. So, yeah. Oh, before I forget, I want to tell you guys that they opened with Johnny Depp's attorneys making a motion for them to for the judge to dismiss the countersuit made by Amber Heard. And I have to say, Ben Chu's arguments were better, but Mr. Rottenborn's arguments, hey, Sky Flashed, were also good as to what, why they shouldn't be, why her counterclaim should not be dismissed. And what I will say to that is this. I think in this situation, the judge did the absolute right thing. And all right, we're already starting off with with a sidebar. But I think she did the right thing when she said, let's let the jury be the fact finders in this case, and they'll be the ones who ultimately decide whether or not Miss Heard's countersuit has any merit, which I frankly liked for a number of reasons. Shmita had pointed out to me that the judge had made some comments about the trial in the UK being unfair. And I think that it was a good move. It was the right move on her part. It was it was the correct call. Also, because I think, had she dismissed it, I think she would have faced a lot of backlash. And I think it would have just been more of a kerfuffle and a hassle than it was really worth. And so I think she did the right thing. All right. And we're back. Yeah, if you're about the tagging. Yeah.
All right. All right, you may be seated. All right.
Oh,
Let me
Elaine's
do a quick
cats got an
please.
earful last night, and they're probably going to are probably getting an earful tonight. Because the part that I watched right before I came live, not right before, but a little bit before, I she was in rare form with her objections.
Your next
Oh,
question.
are you talking about Mo?
Mr. Vanya, before
Hold
lunch, we were
on.
talking about your opinions in response
Excuse
to
me,
the testimony
ma'am.
of Mr. Schnell.
I was speaking. If you're yeah, Momo, she works nights, and when she was on panel with me that all those nights, she was off of work. She was not, she had vacay. So that's why she was able to be up there with me. But now Mo, yeah, and now it's just me all by myself. Here we go.
Did you also analyze the testimony of Ms. Arnold in this case?
Yes, I did.
And are you aware of her opinion that Ms. Heard's career would have followed the same trajectory as that of Jason Momoa, Gal Gadot, Zendaya, Ana de Armas, and Chris Pine, if not for the Waldman statements?
Yes.
What's your understanding of Ms.
Hold
Arnold's
on.
basis?
I want to help Sky Flashed. So Sky Flashed, when you put the @ before the person's name that you want to tag, you have to type out the name exactly as it appears in the chat. So it won't tag Heather whatever because the H is not capitalized and the W is not capitalized. On mobile, it's real picky. Okay, here we go. Back to data.
For her opinion,
And
that Ms. Heard's career is really
demonstratives.
similar to that of those identified actors.
Ms. Arnold stated that when producers or her industry is looking to hire talent and actors, that it's important to best understand the public's perception of the actors that they're considering, and that it's important you look into social media to see what is happening with the actors they're considering for either a movie or even an endorsement opportunity with companies. So that was her approach.
And is that the process she followed in
You
providing
are
her
not
analysis of
chopped
those
liver
purportedly
to
comparable
me,
actors?
Shmita.
No.
I don't even like
Although
liver.
She stated that she
Hey,
went
Vincent's
in
missing
and,
ear.
brought in these alleged comparable actors, and without really reasoning behind that.
Did you conduct an analysis based on your expertise in social media and internet analytics of Ms. Heard compared to the actors to whom Ms. Arnold compares her?
I did.
And what did you find?
Well, since Ms. Arnold stated that the proper approach is looking at the public perspective, looking into social media, and she did not do that, I felt that was the best approach to do this based on her words. So yes, I did go into best understanding the public perspective of Ms. Heard and the alleged comparable actors using Q scores. Then I also went and did some analysis.
Never. I
online
will
on
never
social
forget
media
you
as well.
guys if
Can
I
you
ever
briefly
make
remind
it
the jury
big.
what Q scores are?
You
Yeah,
guys
again,
will be
Q
coming
scores,
right with me.
Measure how well a celebrity, it could be a cartoon character, it could be a sports person, how well they're known, how well they're liked, and how much they're disliked. And it's an industry standard tool that's used. It's not just focused on the movies that they're in, but it's focused on them as actors, but also what's happening in their personal lives come to play as well.
Hey, Coolest
So
Reviews.
that's
Good
how
to
Q
see
scores
ya.
are typically used.
Did you prepare a demonstrative that reflects the Q score analysis you completed?
Yes, I did.
Nope, he's not on the Gatorade. He's on the Fiji water. Essentially, that's exactly it. I can't highlight that comment. Vincent's missing here, but yes, that's exactly it. Your Honor,
No objection to the demonstrative.
All right.
everything
Identify
Miss Arnold
plaintiff
said was bullshit.
1296,
Thank you.
For identification and published to the jury.
Mr. Vanya, what point in time do these Q scores represent that are reflected on your demonstrative?
What about
So
liver and fava
These
beans?
are the winter 2019 Q scores that are reflected here. And what was important for me is I wanted to find Q scores that represented Miss
Hey,
Heard
Allie,
after Aquaman.
79.
And remember, Aquaman is December of 2018. These Q scores were gathered January and February of 19, but before the Waldman statements.
And what did you find based on the Q scores that you looked at?
So as you see here on the left are positive Q scores, and the higher the number, the better. As you can see, Ms. Godot has the highest Q score out of the group of actors here at a 28. But you're going to notice Ms. Heard has the lowest positive Q score. She has a 9. So I find that very interesting that she doesn't appear to fit in as a comparable with these alleged comparable actors. I think what's also interesting is the average Q score for all actors being scored at that time, which include all the alleged comparable actors here, score at an average of 17. And you can see, again, she is 9, well below that. And then on the right side, you're going to see the negative Q scores. So this is how much people dislike you. So the lower the score, the better. You can see Mr. Momoa is over here with the lowest at an 8, but you can see Ms. Heard is over here at a 28, which was quite a difference. A 20-point difference from Mr. Momoa, and also a 10-point difference, from the average of all actors. So she is very, very much little. Her positive score is very low, and her negative score is very high, which tells me that she does not fit in as a comparable as it relates to these.
Oh, look at Mr. Depp studying these
What opinions did you form
charts?
Q score analysis?
My opinions as it relates to these Q scores is, Ms. Arnold used these actors as allegedly comparable actors. But really listening to her testimony yesterday, it appears that she's abandoned this approach. I don't think she's using these comparable actors or these alleged comparable actors anymore. She's more relying on her experience, and I agree with that.
Did Ms. Arnold offer a criticism of your use of the Q scores here?
She did, yes.
And what's your understanding what that criticism is?
They
Well,
will,
what I believe
Skyflash.
she
You're
was
right.
saying is that I should have ran Q scores for these allegedly comparable actors after each of their breakout films, which I disagree. First of all, Q
Why has
scores
Mr.
doesn't
Chu
work
got his
like
debit
that.
card
Q scores
out
are available twice a year
and putting
so
it
it's not that
back?
I could pick a month or a different month for each of Q score actors. So I feel that, what was important for me, and this doesn't always happen when I'm using Q scores, you can get this perfect moment in time, as Ms. Heard said, but as Ms. Arnold said, that, Aquaman was Ms. Heard's breakout moment. So these scores reflect that breakout moment, and they're terrible Q scores.
How would your analysis change if you had used Ms. Arnold's logic with respect to the timing of the Q scores that you looked at?
I mean, if you really think about
More
what,
post-it notes from
Ms.
Heard.
Arnold was saying, is she's saying that she thinks Q scores are the highest for each actor right after their breakout moment. So I would think, if anything, these Q scores could have been a bit lower because it's not right after their breakout moment. But what's important for me is the fact that these scores reflect, who Amber Heard was at the time before the Waldman statements, but after the Aquaman release.
We can take that one down, Tom. Thank you. What other work have you done in connection with forming your opinions in this case?
Again, taking the advice from Ms. Arnold, it's important. She says the industry looks into social media, what their followings are like, with the numbers as it relates to their followers.
Oh, that's
again,
a
what is
good
the
point,
public perception of them?
Skyflash.
So I
She-
analyzed their social media accounts, but prior to the Waldman statement. So.
And how did you do that?
Yeah, so what I did, I don't know if you're all familiar with the archive.org. They have a tool called the Wayback Machine. What archive.org does is it archives the internet. So you can go back in time to see what websites and web pages used to look like in the past. Not all the time can you actually get a celebrity's social media accounts to have been archived, but we were fortunate that each of the alleged comparable actors' social media accounts were in archive.org. So I was able to go back in time prior to the Waldman statements to see what the following activity was for each of the alleged comparable actors.
Mr. Banya, did you prepare a demonstrative that reflects your social media analysis?
I
Yes.
need him to teach me his ways so I can do thorough searches and analyze the results of my searches.
No objection to the demonstration.
All right, we'll mark it for identification purposes, plaintiffs 1297 and publish.
It'd be great
Banya,
if
can
he
you tell the
would
jury what you found in
DoorDash
social
her.
media?
Yeah, so what I found, again, this is prior to the Waldman statements. First thing you're going to notice here is not all actors use social media. You're going to see Mr. Pine doesn't have Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram, and Momoa and Darmus don't use Facebook or Twitter. But what's important to look at is you have Ms. Heard prior to the Waldman statements with 3.8 Instagram followers and 142,500 Twitter followers. And then you move down to Gal Gadot with 37 million Instagram followers compared to her 3.8 million. And 2.3 million Twitter followers compared to Ms. Heard's 142,000. And you can then even go down to Zendaya with 65.9 and 17.2 million Twitter followers. What this is telling me is really, more people are interested in Ms. Gadot and Zendaya and even Mr. Momoa than Ms. Heard on social media. It just tells me a lot of people are interested in these actors as opposed to Ms. Heard, more of a following. Q scores, well-liked, less disliked.
I
So it
mean,
kind of
he
fits
is
into the
just
analysis
reading
of
her
determining whether or
social
not
media
these
for
alleged
filth
comparable actors are
at
actually
this
there.
point.
Based on your expertise, what are your overall opinions about Ms. Arnold's analysis of the so-called comparable actors?
It's caca.
Yes, again, it appears that she's abandoned this approach, and I agree with that. I feel that, through the Q score analysis and the social media analysis, that they're just not comparable.
I know, Sugar Beet. I'm going to find out. I'm going to use those
Mr.
tools.
Banya, based on
on the
all the analysis you
Googles.
did in this case, what are your overall opinions?
Yes,
Watch
my overall
out, y'all.
opinions are that Mr. Schnell failed to prove any causal connection with the Waldman statements and the search or the hashtag activity, those spikes as it relates to Twitter. There's no causal connection there.
I don't think Beverly
My
Hills would
second
take her.
opinion is, based on my social
New
media. and
York,
Q-score
she fit in
analysis,
real good with the New York
Ms.
crew.
Arnold's alleged comparable actors are not comparable. And then third, Ms. Arnold and Mr. Schnell both failed to prove any causation as it relates to the Waldman statements causing economic harm to Ms. Heard. So, as a damages expert, which Ms. Arnold is, you need to take into consideration causation before you can calculate damages. You look at damages and you look at this allegedly damaging event, and not only do you have to prove that 100% of the damages because of these Waldman statements, she didn't even consider COVID. It happened at the same time. A lot of actors probably made a lot less money because of COVID. Maybe films didn't get made. And, when you do an analysis of damages, you prove causation, but you also have to look at everything else that might have caused this alleged economic harm. And she didn't look into any of that. She didn't even know what causation was. So I don't think of the damages as the appropriate approach in this case.
No further questions, Your Honor.
Boom.
Cross-examination.
Good afternoon, Mr. Bain.
Hi.
You're not a damages expert, correct?
I am a damages expert, but not providing any quantitative damages opinions in this case.
In this case, okay. And is it your testimony
that only if a person repeats the Waldman-Depp statements could they be related to the defamation?
Say that one more time?
Are you saying that a person literally has to repeat the Waldman-Depp statements in a tweet for them to be related to the defamation?
No, if you looked at my analysis, I did pick the 3 themes as it relates to the tweets, and I analyzed those themes, and I came up with 5 examples of when.
Oh, I
those
want to
themes
say
were used.
something
And you
really
ran searches
quick.
for, quote,
Gosh
abuse
dang it.
hoax, sexual
This
violence
stupid
hoax, and
widget.
fake
I'm
sexual
so over
violence.
it.
And you ran all those in quotes, correct?
Okay. I need to figure out how to get rid of that. So you're going to hear this phrase, and it actually took place with the witness prior with it was Richard Marks, because it took me by surprise when they said his name, because of course I'm thinking of the singer, and then I'm thinking, well, why would the singer be testifying? That makes no sense, Jen. So anyway, that's beside the point. But Mr. Marks testified that I totally lost my point. Crap. I'm all discombobulated tonight, you guys. If you were coming for a good show, this may not be the right night for you. The Depp heard statements. So when Elaine got up there, no, was it Elaine? I don't remember now. Whoever it was got up there to cross-examine. I think it might have been Nadelhaft that's doing it right now. But anyway, when he got up there when it was his turn for cross-examination, he started out by saying that he was going to, from now on, refer to the statements as the Depp Waldman statements. And immediately Johnny Depp's attorneys objected, and they should. And I feel like it actually was, I don't think he should be allowed to say, I don't think that her team should be allowed to refer to the statements as the Depp Waldman statements, because at this point in the trial, okay, and the judge ruled on this morning. She said it was going to be up to the jury to determine whether or not Mr. Waldman, acting as an agent, not the English dictionary definition, but the legal definition, as an agent for Johnny Depp, released, typed, whatever, the 3 defamatory statements against Miss Heard, which thus makes, because he is an agent of Johnny Depp's, it makes, by virtue of him being an attorney, his attorney at the time, makes Johnny Depp liable for the statements. Okay. She decided that the jury is the person, or the people who are going to determine if there is a connection there. And for her, I profoundly disagree with her ruling allowing the statements to be referred to as the Depp Waldman statements. Due to that fact, I find it to be, oh, thank you, Amelia. I feel that I think it's profoundly prejudicial. It implies that a connection has been made, when the truth of the matter is a connection can be made in my mind, your mind, everybody, or no connection could be made in my mind, your mind, all of the attorneys' minds. But that's not what the judge ruled. The judge ruled that it was the jury's responsibility, and it was their it was their decision alone. They were the fact finders, and it was up to them to determine if there was a connection. Right. And I just find it, I was so annoyed by this ruling, as I feel like, how are you going to rule that the jury is going to make that determination, but then allow Amber Heard's counsel to consistently refer to them as the Depp Waldman statements? I found it highly prejudicial, and I don't agree with it, as you can tell by the tone and the tenor and the veracity that my words are coming out of my mouth. Very annoyed and very displeased. Okay, let's get back to it.
I did.
So only if a person used a tweet with those words in that order and with that spacing would they hit on your searches, correct?
Objection compound.
Overruled.
Yeah, so I used them in quotes because, hoax could be used in many other contexts. So I wanted to make sure I was fitting my search with the theme of the Waldman statements.
So if someone tweeted misheard faked sexual violence, that wouldn't appear in your searches, correct? Faked with an ED.
It would not.
Okay. And if they use two spaces between abuse and hoax, that wouldn't fit in your search.
That's correct.
Did you? And a tweet can only be 280 characters, correct?
That's correct.
Oh,
So
Twitter's
certain
done
of the
bumped it
Waldman,
up. It used to be
statements,
150.
A person could not tweet the whole thing in one tweet, correct? The whole statement in one tweet,
The Waldman statements?
correct?
No, you could not tweet those entire quotes.
Did you make any determination if there was an online bullying campaign against Mr. Depp after Ms. Heard's op-ed?
I didn't look into any online bullying campaign for Ms. Heard nor Mr. Depp.
Did you determine if there were tweets harassing Mr. Depp that quoted from Ms. Heard's op-ed?
No, my assignment was to determine if the Waldman statements were part of the tweets that Mr. Schnell provided. I was rebutting him.
And in your analysis of when you testified before, you never looked to see if the op-ed was quoted anywhere, correct?
Objection, Your Honor. May we approach?
For the 11th billionth time, that wasn't what he was asked to do.
All right, questions withdrawn. Next question.
Now, you have no objection to Ms. Arnold's use of comparables, correct? Just the use of comparables in general.
I listened to her testimony and my understanding that she abandoned that approach. But as it relates to my testimony today, my opinion was related to the specific
Sky
alleged
flashed.
comparable actors, that they were not comparable.
You're not offering an opinion as to who the appropriate comparables should be to Ms. Heard, correct?
Correct.
Okay, looking at her rude face right there, it reminded me of something. So, she is having dinner, Charlie, and if we're still going when she's done with dinner, she's going to come up. I sent her the link. So I was just remembering something. So when I was doing my deep dive into watching the Justice League, the original version, okay, I was watching the opening credits, okay, billing. That's what, So you can tell the status of a star and not only the status of the star, but the size of their role by the order in which their name comes in the opening titles. Okay. And I just want to point out that in the movie Justice League, I believe Diane Lane had slightly more screen time than Amber Heard overall. I think Diane Lane's total screen time is like 10 or 15 minutes. Okay. However, when it comes to the opening credits, which is the billing, right? Diane Lane's name appears well before Amber Heard's. In fact, Amber Heard doesn't even get a screen under herself. She's clumped in with three of them all together. It's somebody, Amber Heard, and somebody else. So that tells you right there where she ranked in. Let me just check and make sure that I have the right, that the year is right, but I'm almost positive that it was in 2017. Just a second. The first one. Yeah, 2017. That's where she was in 2017. Okay. So frankly, for Amber Heard to think that Aquaman would propel her into stardom is ludicrous. First of all, let me just start by saying this. Nobody gives an F about Aquaman as a character. The draw to Aquaman was Jason Momoa, period. He was already an established, known actor. He had done Game of Thrones and I forgot about this, he had done Conan the Barbarian. And that is an iconic role to try to remake after Arnold Schwarzenegger was the original Conan the Barbarian. That would be like Jason. I would probably watch it if if they remade the original Terminator, right, with Jason Momoa, I would watch that too. But everybody there's certain roles, there's certain parts that actors play that just become theirs and for all time, right? And it's very difficult for a remake, and a recast to, so for her premise of all of this, and the person that she had, her expert witness testimony, the premise was just completely faulty from jump. I'm sorry. All right, I'm done. I'm going to behave now.
And,
Promise.
You testified just before about the Q scores of Ms. Heard and the comparables. That was plaintiff's exhibit 1296, correct?
I don't know what 1296 means.
Okay. The demonstrative in front of you.
Mine? Yes, that's correct.
Exactly. Nobody
And you
watched
said that those were all for the winter
Aquaman
of
for Amber
2019.
Heard.
I
She
said
could be
Ms. Heard's were
replaced
from
by
the winter of
anybody.
2019.
Because isn't it true that none of the rest of these people were from the winter of 2019, correct?
That's correct.
In fact, Mr. Momoa's was from the summer of 2020.
That's correct. Not all alleged comparable actors had Q scores for that date. What was important for me is getting Ms. Heard's Q scores right after Aquaman, but before the Waldman.
Oh,
scores.
Elaine
You
is
weren't
super
comparing apples to
feisty
apples, correct?
today. She's extra spicy
I
after
wouldn't
lunch.
say that. I'm saying that it's not the exact same years.
Well, so in the winter of 2019, that Q score comes out. That the field work date for that is from January 22nd, 2019 to February 7th, 2019, correct?
That is correct.
So that would be so the field work would be starting almost immediately after Aquaman just came out, correct?
Yeah, and her Star is Born moment, yes.
You'd agree that
Those
for the winter
those
of
are her
2020,
terms
where
too.
you took Jason
sir.
Momoa's Q score would have more time to account for the rise in popularity of the film Aquaman, correct?
Well, actually, if I use Ms. Arnold's suggestion, the celebrities tend to have, the celebrity moment right after they have their breakout film. So I disagree with that. I think maybe his Q scores could be lower as it relates to when I use them.
You'd agree that for the winter of 2020, Mr. Momoa's Q score would have more time to account for the rise in popularity of the film Aquaman.
No, he doesn't. I
don't know if it accounts for the rise of popularity. Again, using Ms. Arnold's words, usually a Q score will be the highest right after the film, like I did measure Ms. Heard.
All right. Do you show?
Exactly. Vincent's missing here. 100%.
If you look on page 177 of your deposition transcript, you see that?
I don't see a page. Is that what you handed me?
You don't see page 177? I think the 4 pages.
Okay, I'll be right
4 pages
back.
per.
Oh, yes, thank you.
Y'all behave.
And I asked you at lines 6 through 10, you'd agree that for the winter of 2020, Jason Momoa's Q score would have more time to account for the rise of popularity in the film Aquaman, and you answered yes.
At that time, as I am a rebuttal expert to Ms. Arnold, based on her testimony, I've learned something new from her.
You didn't look at Ms. Heard's Q score for summer of 2020, correct?
She doesn't have any.
And Ms. De Armas had a lower familiarity score than Ms. Heard, correct?
If I don't have that in front of me, but if you're saying that, yes.
Okay. And Ms. De Armas's career trajectory has gone up since the summer of 2020, correct?
I don't know. I didn't analyze her career trajectory.
Okay. Could you put up plaintiff's trial exhibit 1297? That was the demonstrative. Ms. De Armas has less Instagram followers than Ms. Heard, correct?
Correct.
And Ms. Heard has more than double the Instagram followers of Ms. De Armas, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And isn't it true that you get more social media followers the longer you're on social media?
Not necessarily. It doesn't work that way. It depends on many other factors.
So Ms. De Armas had a lower familiarity score and less Instagram followers, yet your testimony is that she would not be a proper comparable to Ms. Heard?
That's correct.
And you're not offering a different set of people who should be comparables, correct?
That's correct.
Okay, thank you. Now, you understand that Mr. Waldman has been banned from Twitter for life for harassing Amber Heard, correct?
I don't know that, but if that's the case.
And you understand that Mr. Waldman appealed the decision to Twitter and they have confirmed his ban for life?
Objection, Your Honor. May we approach on this one?
Okay, sure.
you agree that in looking at Mr. Schnell's data, 65% of the uses of negative hashtags relating to Ms. Heard occurred between April 1st, 2020 and June 15th, 2021, correct?
Correct.
And you would agree that 5 of the 6 highest spikes of the negative hashtags were after the Depp Waldman statements, correct?
Correct.
And where you talked about the February 2020 spike, and the 65%, by the way, even includes the February 2020 spike of tweets, correct?
That's correct. Well, there was no spike in Feb 2020 during the Waldman statements.
Well, the spike in February 2020 was before the Waldman statements, right?
I would have you. Can we pull up the chart again if you want to talk about the spikes?
Sure. Can you put up 1294? Number 1.
Number 1. Yeah, that spike happened before the Waldman statements.
Okay. And there was hardly any activity in negative hashtags until February 2020, correct?
That's correct.
And you understand that the spike in February 2020 was related to the partial tape that Mr. Waldman and Mr. Depp leaked to the Daily Mail, right?
I'm aware that the articles were related to Heard admitting to hitting Depp.
And you understand that Mr. Waldman testified that Mr. Depp and Mr. Waldman met with the Daily Mail in person to provide the partial tapes of the Daily Mail.
Objection, Your Honor.
He talked about what the number 1 related to.
What's the objection?
Sorry, lack of foundation. And
I'm asking if he knows or doesn't.
All right, overrule.
So what's important to me is the fact that this spike is
I-
prior to the
Sir,
Waldman
sir,
statements.
do you know if Mr. Waldman testified that Mr. Depp and he met with the Daily Mail in person to provide the partial tape
No,
in February 2020? You don't know one way or the
it's
other.
irrelevant to my opinion.
Okay. And the spike in July of 2020 came right after the last defamatory statement by Mr. Depp and Mr. Waldman, correct?
The July spike, which is number 2, is not related to the Waldman statements, and there are articles related to abuse between Heard and Depp and feces found in Depp's bed.
And that's based on Google searches you did?
That's correct.
And the July spike in time came after the June 27, 2020 defamatory statement by Mr. Depp and Mr. Waldman, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. And 5 of the 6 spikes came after the defamatory statements, correct?
After the Waldman statements, yes.
Okay. Now, you testified before that you eliminated shares and likes of the Depp Waldman statements from your analysis, right?
Repeat that, please.
Did you say that you eliminated shares and likes of tweets that included the Depp Waldman statements?
That's correct. When I was doing my analysis, I noticed the exact same text was a part of many of these tweets.
Don't shares and likes disseminate the negative information?
That's quite possible.
And you agree, right, that use of the term Waldman or Waldmanian occurred over 25% of the time in the negative tweets toward Ms. Heard from April 2020 through January 2021, correct?
Although it's irrelevant to this case, it has nothing to do with the Waldman statements. That's what Mr. Schnell says.
You don't disagree with the search results, correct?
Although has nothing to do with this case or the Waldman statements, I do not disagree.
So if people are tweeting about Adam Waldman or Waldmanian at the same time as tweeting negative hashtags about Amber Heard, is your testimony that they have nothing to do with this case?
The hashtags have nothing to do with this case.
That's what you're saying?
That's
Okay.
what- yeah.
Okay. And even if they include the negative hashtags with Mr. Waldman's name and Waldmanian, you're saying they have nothing to do with the defamatory statements?
All 4 hashtags that Snell used had nothing to do with the Waldman statements. Waldman himself has nothing to do with the Waldman statements. We're talking about the Waldman statements here. Waldmanian, I don't even know what that is, but again, it has nothing to do with this case, and it's not related to the Waldman statements. That's what's important.
And the reason you're saying they're not related to the Waldman statements is because someone didn't literally copy what Adam Waldman said in the Daily Mail and tweet it out?
Well, I looked at enough tweets that included the name Waldman that have nothing to do with anything negative or the Waldman statement.
No, they must
I
have,
mean,
had,
Mr.
they must have
Wald-
had to have the negative hashtags toward Ms. Heard, because the only way that those would have been in the data you looked at would have had the negative hashtags toward Ms. Heard. It was looking at that universe, correct?
Well, first of all, I don't agree that justice for Johnny Depp is a negative hashtag towards Amber Heard. So listen, the assignment was to determine if the tweets that Mr. Schnell presented were related or included the Waldman statements.
In your review of the tweets related to Ms. Heard, you cannot point to any that were positive toward Ms. Heard, correct?
Again, I was not looking for that.
And you did not review the hashtag Justice for Johnny Depp during the time frame from April 1st, 2020 to January 1st, 2020 to see if there were any that were not negative toward Ms. Heard.
I did not look into anything as it relates to anything other than what relates to the Waldman statements. That's what's at issue here today as we sit in court.
And you didn't form any statistical analysis to rule out the Waldman statement's impact on the hashtags, correct?
Correct.
You did not analyze whether media and press coverage other than the Waldman statements affected Ms. Heard's career, correct?
Correct.
Looking at the exhibit that's in front of you, where you have the numbers here, those you said are related to Google searches?
The 1 through 6?
Correct.
Yes.
Okay. And can we put up plaintiff's 888? And we could just start at 1. Do you understand that your, okay. Oh, thanks. And 888, it's page 76. These are the documents you relied upon for your opinion today?
Yes.
And are these the search, where it has the different letters? These are the searches that you ran for the various time frames and the articles that came up for numbers 1 through 6, correct?
No, I mean, obviously document 1A is the Heard supplemental expert witness disclosure. These are documents that I used throughout the time I've been working on this project. So these aren't related to those 1 through 6 numbers.
Okay. These are documents you relied upon for your opinion today?
These are documents that I relied upon when I presented my designation.
For your opinion today, that you're offering today?
Yeah, these are the documents that, yes, I've relied on throughout this case.
Okay. And actually, Michelle, could you turn in this designation to, let's see. Hold on one second.
Have we had enough of Mr. Statistics? Because I think I have. Let's get to the Hicksville guy. I'll just answer for you guys.
Hey, do you mind if we give?
All right. So we're on the same page with Mr. Knight's testimony. There's a rule on witnesses. However, Mr. Knight's a rebuttal witness. The purpose of excluding witnesses from the courtroom, usually it's a courtroom, is to deprive a later witness of the opportunity to shape testimony to correspond with that of an earlier witness. The issue we have here, obviously, if it was a direct witness in the direct testimony, you had time to do rule on witnesses, let them know about the rule on witnesses. With a rebuttal witness, it's a little different because
Thanks for explaining, Your Honor. I don't want to be rude, but you're right. Vincent's missing here. What Amber Heard's team essentially is doing in their cross-examination of the witness that we just were listening to is essentially trying to confuse the issue. Well, you didn't look at this, and you didn't look at that, and you didn't look at this third thing, and you didn't look at this hashtag. Well, that's not what he was assigned to do. That was not his job as it pertains to this trial. If Amber Heard wants to prove that the statements made by Waldman in the Daily Mail are what were defamatory because A, they were a lie, and B, they caused her a loss of income, then that's what they need to be looking at. This is his statements, what if any impact the statements had on Twitter, on social media. And the way that he went about doing that is the right way. And I'm just like, I can't.
sir, if you just have a seat, please. Sir, what we're doing is I'm just going to ask you a few questions outside the presence of the jury. Then the attorneys are going to ask you a few questions, okay? And I'm going to have you step back outside after that, okay?
No problem.
All right, what's your full name, sir?
Morgan Higby Knight,
Okay, you don't have to be that close. All right, how do you spell your last name?
NIGHT.
Okay. All right, and sir, before I can allow you to testify, I just want to ask you a few questions. Have you seen any of the trial that's been going on for the past 6 weeks?
Approximately 5 weeks ago, a friend of mine texted me that Hicksville was mentioned, and I watched a little clip where
Okay.
it was mentioned.
Which clip did you watch?
I believe it was somebody testifying about, I think it was the security guard testifying maybe about Hicksville, or I forget exactly who was testifying, but it was something where Hicksville was mentioned, and it was about something about a wrist or something like that.
All right. And what did you do after that? At some point, did you get in contact with attorneys?
So I didn't reach out to them. I didn't really care.
Okay.
The innkeepers that worked at Hicksville before reached out to them and said, we saw some stuff that wasn't true. And then they asked, is it okay if I give the attorneys your phone number? So the attorneys reached out to me
Okay. And when did the attorneys reach out to you?
May 3rd.
May 3rd. And you talked to the attorneys at that time?
Yeah.
Okay.
Not Camille, but Carolyn.
Okay. And then have you seen any other parts of the trial?
No, she instructed me not to watch anything about it,
No.
regardless of if it was about Hicksville or not. So I've been
Since May
keeping
3rd.
off the internet and turning off anything that seems to be like it's on social media. So I just don't watch any of that.
Okay. All right. And questions, Ms. Barrett?
So, Mr. Knight, you were contacted by an attorney for Mr. Depp on May 3rd,
Yes,
okay? And you said it was Carolyn?
Geraldine.
Geraldine. Oh, Yerlin, I got it. Okay. And
I
what,
think it's pronounced Geraldine.
okay, can you tell us the conversation you had with her at that time?
Yeah, she just asked me my recollection of the evening, and I told her, and she said, "Okay, would you mind testifying?" And I said, "Sure."
Thank you,
And she
Vincent.
said,
Missing air. I don't want
"Okay,
to
well
talk too
then,
much over
we're not
this
sure if we're gonna
part,
call
but
you or
you're
not,
right.
But just in case, please don't watch anything having to do with the case." And I said, "I will do."
Now, how is it that, to your best knowledge, how is it that Geraldine was able to get hold of you? How did she know that you knew something?
So, like I said, two of my innkeepers, my innkeeper and my manager, had reached out to her team, I think through email. And one of them texted me and said, "Hey, do you mind if we give Geraldine your phone number?"
Now, you also communicated on Twitter, did you not, about this case?
Yeah, 2 weeks prior to Geraldine reaching out to me, someone had made a comment about something that happened by the fire pit, and I said, "That's not my recollection. I didn't see. That's not what I saw."
So who was it that made a comment about something that happened at the fire pit?
So once I was told about the fact that Hicksville was mentioned, I went and did a Twitter search of Hicksville trailer. So it was, I don't know who it was, but I was just like, what are they saying about Hicksville? And so that was why I did a search, just to see, because it was weird and fascinating, because the night to me wasn't that remarkable in the context of all the different experiences I've had at the trailer palace.
So explain to me, please, what you mean by you did a trailer search.
So
No,
if you go to Twitter and you
Twitter,
put in keywords,
Elaine.
you search, all the tweets regarding that subject come up, or anything with those keywords in it. So that is how I found the tweet that I replied to.
Okay. And how many tweets did you find that mentioned Hicksville when you did that trailer search?
Probably like 5 or 6. I only
Not
refreshed one.
trailer search. He
What
searched
do you
Twitter,
recall
Elaine.
those
My
tweets
God.
saying about Hicksville?
The one that I replied to said that there was some incident by the fire pit, and Johnny was yelling at Amber, and I replied that that I didn't see that. I was there all night, and I was working that night, so I didn't see anything like that.
So your best recollection on that one was that somebody said somebody was testifying that Johnny was yelling at Amber?
Yeah, and I believe grabbed her or something along those lines.
Do you recall who said Johnny was yelling at Amber? And
Do you
grabbed
know
her?
how
I had no
Twitter
idea it
works,
was a
Elaine?
stranger, so I didn't really pay attention to who was writing it.
All right. And you said that you responded to it. How did you respond to it?
I said that's not what happened. I was there all night. Yeah, basically, I'm
That-
paraphrasing. It was. A
Did
few
you
months ago.
say anything about what you thought happened?
I just said that didn't happen. I didn't say
What
I
happened?
believe I said maybe something along the lines of, from what I saw, Amber was the one acting jealous, not Johnny.
And you said this to one of the tweets.
Yes,
Do you recall whether that was the Umbrella Man?
I don't recall this ridiculous name though.
Okay. So tell me about the other 5 tweets that you recall seeing when you ran your trailer search.
I think they were similar in nature, but I don't specifically remember the details of them. That was pretty much the only one I remembered, and that's the only one I replied to.
Do you remember anything about the other 5 and what was said?
No.
When you said that somebody told you about a security guard, what was your understanding of what the security guard said?
I got a text that somebody in the trial had said that they were talking about Trailer Palace during the trial. And so that's what led me to go on Twitter and do a search.
And did you have any communications with the two innkeepers about what you knew or what you thought?
No, I haven't talked to them in years and
So-
still haven't regarding the case.
So how is it that the innkeepers then contacted you and said, do you mind if we give you the telephone number to the attorneys?
Because they still have me in their phone, and Christy, who was the manager at the time, is the one that texted me and said, hey, do you mind if we pass this along? Mr. Depp's attorneys want to talk to you.
Do you mind if we pass what along?
Your phone number.
Right, but how is it that, what is the communication you had with the innkeepers that even led them to understand that you believed you had knowledge about the Hicksville incident?
There was no conversation. They knew because they were both working that same night. Jenna was the innkeeper and she was there along with me that night. Christy was the one who texted me and she'd come in the following morning for her shift. And I slept over. I was live-in innkeeper that night.
So I'm trying to understand. So just based on the fact that 7 years ago, they happened to know that you were working that night.
Hey,
9 years ago, and
Jeanette.
it's because I was there
Okay.
with them.
My math, well, it's 2022 right now, and that was what year? Oh, that was
2013.
You're right, okay.
Not
So
even, yeah, no,
how
not
is
at
it that
all.
Out of the blue, they remembered 9 years ago that you worked there that night and that you might have some knowledge.
I mean, to be honest, like we do get celebrities sometimes, but it was, it's not that unmemorable. It's not like it's any other night of the week. So I'm sure they remembered the specifics of that night.
Had Mr. Depp's attorneys ever attempted to contact you before?
No,
Had you ever attempted to contact Mr. Depp's attorneys before?
no, I had no interest.
All right. Have you had any conversations with Mr. Depp's attorneys other than the one you described with Geraldine?
Since
Yes.
I met with Camille last night,
All right. And what was that conversation? Please describe.
I just went through, the story again that I told Geraldine.
And let's hear what that story was.
You want me to go through
Yes.
the whole story?
Your Honor, we would object to attorney work product.
There's no
Absolutely.
attorney work product.
No,
All right.
What?
Go ahead. Go ahead, sir.
Yeah,
Yes,
sure.
please.
I described like them getting to the trailer palace, me showing them around, the interactions I had when I was on duty with Mr. Depp and Miss Heard, how the evening progressed throughout the night, the levels of drinking and drug use that I witnessed, what the state of the damaged trailer the next morning, and basically just the details that I'd only spent total 45 minutes to an hour with Mr. Depp and Miss Heard throughout the entire course of the night. So it was my recollection of those events during that time.
And what did Ms. Vasquez say to you?
Your Honor, this is beyond, we object on the grounds that it's beyond the scope of the board.
Hey,
It's
Cass
just limited to the
Whatever
three
she said to
criteria.
him is
May I
very
please finish
clear.
stating my objection, Your Honor?
Go ahead, yes, sir.
The objection is that it's beyond the scope of the voir dire, Your Honor, enumerated the three criteria which are relevant here. And this is a rebuttal witness, so
Your Honor, whatever Ms. Vasquez shared with him is going to be very important here because they knew by this time he was going to be a witness. So
That was
what-
last night. So
Right.
how does that fit into one of the three factors of deciding whether or not he's going to testify?
Well, one of the three factors, Your Honor, may I approach so that the witness doesn't.
Okay, that's fine.
Elaine, you're loud as F. The witness is going to hear. I hate to break it to you there. Exactly. This is the problem. Elaine is trying to essentially
Mr. Knight, did
Yes.
Ms. Vasquez
make it.
provide you with any information that
Hold on.
anyone had testified to or said at any point?
No, she didn't talk about anything except for asking me my experience and just getting a clear understanding of what my experience was. She didn't mention anything outside of the scope of what I saw and just asked me for the facts and told me just tell the truth and let me know,
Do you know what any of the witnesses said in this trial?
about, outside of what I described earlier with a friend of mine texting that someone was talking about Trailer Palace, I do not.
Do you know whether any of the witnesses testified about any jealousy?
Other than the tweet that I replied to, no.
Do you know the Muffin
All
Man?
right. Thank you. Your Honor, may we approach?
All right. Would you have any questions? All right, sir, if you could have a seat back outside the courtroom.
Sure.
Thank you.
I leave my water.
Yes, you can leave your water.
No, don't leave your water. What if they don't let you testify? Then you don't have a water. You could get dehydrated, Mr. Knight. She's having a whole temper tantrum up there. Elaine. You know, you would have had access to this witness as well if you weren't so busy. You know, didn't you have your social media expert testify? You can see that. I mean, you must know something because you're asking him about the Twitter handle, user name, whatever you want to call it. You know that. So, you know, curious. You know what else I'm curious about? Just 'cause. Um, why didn't Amber Heard's team seek out anybody that worked at at Hicksville? I'm kind of curious about that. There was, if nothing else, right? If nothing else, why wouldn't they seek them out? They could, if nothing else, look at I'm sorry, Catch Chick, but every time I hear Elaine question somebody about something, it's all I can hear. Do you know the Muffin Man? The thing is if for no other reason, then they could have a potential witness to the damage done to the trailer at Hicksville. That's at the very bare minimum. On at the high, right? Best case scenario, they have a witness to the situation around the campfire that precipitated this knockdown, drag out rumble in the desert between Johnny Depp and Amber Heard. So why wouldn't they seek this person out or somebody from, you know what I mean? I'm over Elaine. I'm over Elaine. I'm over Amber Heard. I'm over the baloney. I've had enough. Jen is done. This is going to be. Oh, come on. Let me speed this up a little bit. I thought this was going to be a little quicker than this. Oh, Elaine is not having it. She is very animated. What's going on, Jeanette? Oh, you guys getting summer storms?
All right. So based on weighing the factors, I'm going to allow Mr. Knight to testify.
Bingo.
If I knew you were going to do a sidebar, I would have made him leave. You never know.
Yeah, you never can tell with Elaine. Judge Penny, you're 100% correct. Better safe than sorry when
You could just stay there while we get the jury, okay?
Elaine
All right, are we ready for the jury?
Elaine decides it's time for a sidebar.
Jen.
Just we're going to swear him in again in front of the jury, okay?
I mean, I suppose I can understand why Elaine is so pressed. Exactly, Sugar Beet. Let's go.
be seated. All right, thank you, ladies and gentlemen. I apologize for the interruption. You're going to notice as we get closer to the end of the testimony, you're probably going to have some more interruptions, and I apologize for that. But there's just some matters we have to take up outside your presence, okay? All right, thank you. All right, your next witness. All right, Mr. Knight, if you could come forward to be sworn.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm to testify truthfully in this case under penalty of law?
Sir, if you have a seat.
Good afternoon, Mr. Knight.
Good afternoon, Camille.
Would you please state your full name for the record?
Morgan Higby Knight.
Mr. Knight, where are you from?
I live in Los Angeles, California.
And what do you do for a living?
So I currently own and run Hicksville Pines Bud and Breakfast in Idlewild, California. And I created and ran Hicksville Trailer Palace in Joshua Tree, California, starting in 2009.
And how is Hicksville Pines Bud and Breakfast different from Hicksville Trailer Palace?
So Hicksville Pines Bud and Breakfast is up in the mountains of Idlewild, which is a beautiful like snow town above Palm Springs. And all the units are A-frames instead of trailers, which we have. It's obviously a very different climate than Joshua Tree, which is a desert area. The rooms, which are themed at both places, are trailers, vintage trailers from the 50s through the 70s at Hicksville Trailer Palace. So there's also different kind of amenities. There's a pool in Joshua Tree.
I want to go to
rec room
Hicksville.
up at Hicksville Pines.
When did you first become the owner of the Trailer Palace?
Trailer Palace, I started building it in 2009. It took about a year with my collaborator, Stephen Butcher, and on the trailers. And we got done and opened in 2010.
Did there come a time that you sold the Hicksville Trailer Palace?
Yeah, I did at the beginning of 2020. I had some health issues and just it was too much to run both at the same time. So I chose
I love
because
his.
it
I
was
love the
newer
name
and
Bud and
shiny.
Breakfast.
And just for my sake, how long did you own the Trailer Palace?
So 10 years of us being open, 11 years total.
And what was the Hicksville Trailer Palace?
So it started out as a artist retreat. I was a filmmaker at the time and wanted a place to get away and work on film projects outside of Los Angeles. I also put in a recording studio so musicians could record records there. I had lived in New Orleans for
I know.
5
I want to
years,
go to
and
these
there's an amazing
places.
recording
We
studio
should
there
have
called
a
Kingsway, where
award
all
family
these
field trip.
musicians would come and they'd live in this big mansion and record their records. And I just thought that was a really neat thing for artists to be able to get away and create their create whatever they were working on.
I agree.
Over the course of the build out
That
of all the
sounds
trailers,
super
being
fun.
trailers, which
Hey,
I'm a huge fan of this
Jody.
hotel called Madonna
How you
Inn.
doing?
And so I wanted to do really detailed.
Oh,
themed
we're on
trailers.
another field trip
It
with
became
Jody.
too
Yay.
expensive to just make a living off of an artist retreat. So I decided before I was done to make it a hotel as well.
And what were your job responsibilities, generally speaking, when you owned the Hicksville Trailer Palace?
So I would be live-in manager some nights, a couple nights a week. I would also drive out from Los Angeles twice a week and bring supplies that you can't get out in the Yucca Valley area and Joshua Tree. There's just a lot of things like, Smart and Finals, Costco's and stuff. So I would drive that stuff out. There's also no
I don't think
USPS,
so.
so
Sugar
sometimes I have to
beet.
get things shipped to my house and drive them out as well. I would also just do constantly building and creating new stuff at Trailer Palace, whether it's new trailers or amenities. So
We might have to
I would
pace
be working on
ourselves
that
or
stuff
plan
as well.
better
I'm
for
a big fan of the fact that Disney
Ward
World is always
family
making
field
better and better.
And
trips.
when you were the live-in manager, does that mean that you spent a night at the Hicksville Trailer Palace?
Yeah, we have a house on site where the recording studio was, and there's a bedroom in there. So whoever is live-in manager those nights stays in the house and basically lives there. There's a kitchen and everything.
Have you ever met the plaintiff in this case, Mr. Depp?
I had met him really briefly at the Viper Room in the late 90s. I worked with some of the people that performed there and was good friends with this girl Robin from the Pussycat Dolls and some other friends, Miss Band the Imposters. So I was there and I met him once.
How about Miss Heard? Ever met her?
I had never met her before. They were guests at the hotel.
When was the first time that you met Mr. Depp and Miss Heard together?
In late May 2013, when they were guests, Mr. Depp's assistant Nathan had rented out the entire place so they could have a night there in privacy.
And what do you recall, if anything, about Mr. Depp and Miss Heard's arrival to the Hicksville Trailer Palace?
Mr. Depp got lost. So his security guard who arrived early asked me if I could go fetch them because he had an old car that didn't really fare on the dirt roads out there, which are pretty horrible. So I went out and made sure that they got themselves and the car back to Hicksville safely.
Do you remember approximately at what time that was?
It was 3 to 4 in the afternoon.
What was Mr. Depp's demeanor when they first arrived?
At Trailer Palace, he was super excited about the place, really complimentary, just had a lot of questions, and just seemed like he was in a really great mood.
And how about Ms. Heard's demeanor? Anything stick out?
Yeah,
was
she's
pretty
rude as
quiet.
fuck. Oh, no.
She
Sorry.
just kind of didn't say that much when I was giving them the
Not
tour of the
professional,
grounds and
Jen.
the trailer.
And was anyone else with Mr. Depp and Ms. Heard when they first arrived?
There was people that were arriving throughout the afternoon. So there was, I think 10 to 12 people total ended up staying. The security guard had gotten there earlier and just to check out the place. But yeah.
And did I understand your testimony previously that the entire trailer park was rented out by Mr. Depp and Ms. Heard?
Yeah, the whole place slept, I believe at the time, about 25 people, but there was only 10 to 12 in this party.
And who was part of that party besides Mr. Depp and Ms. Heard?
I'm really horrible with names, but I remember one of them was Ms. Heard's sister and the security guard I mentioned before, but I honestly forgot his name too.
I find his
What happened
honesty
when Mr. Depp and Ms. Heard
refreshing.
first came onto the property?
So I gave them a tour of, we give all guests a tour of their specific trailer and the grounds, and show them around the, when someone rents the whole place, they get another trailer called the bar trailer, which is basically a place to set up their alcohol and stuff. And some people in the group were just putting their beverages in that area.
And where were you when Mr. Depp and Ms. Heard, did there come a time when Mr. Depp and Ms. Heard went to the bar trailer?
I didn't notice most of the time that my interactions with them, everything's kind of centrally located. So there's a fire pit, bar trailer, and picnic tables all right in the same area. So they were generally around that area the entire evening that I saw them.
And what did you observe of Mr. Depp and Ms. Heard as the evening progressed?
So Mr. Depp was super, just super curious and really nice. He was also really interested in my innkeeper because she was a musician, so they would talk about music a lot. At one point, the innkeeper who lived at the next door property went home and grabbed her guitar, and they had sung a song or two around the campfire.
Oh, boy.
In the early evening. There's another instance where Mr. Depp, the innkeeper, her name is Jenna, and myself were talking about books and music. And
Yeah, this
Ms.
isn't,
Heard
I can
came
already
over
tell
and
this
kind of
story's not going to
interjected,
have a happy
seeming a
ending.
little annoyed that Mr. Depp wasn't spending time with her.
What about Ms. Heard's demeanor made you think that she was annoyed?
Have you met Miss Heard?
I think just generally she, it's hard. Like I think, I don't know. It was just like a gut reaction. Like I can't describe it, but you know.
Did she make a face?
How long were you with Mr. Depp and Ms. Heard that evening, generally?
So throughout the course of the evening, I was probably mostly with Mr. Depp, but 45 minutes to an hour total. So it was, yeah, that's over the whole course until the end of the night after the check-in.
Okay. And did you have an opportunity to observe Mr. Depp interact with other people, guests on the property that evening?
Yes, I saw him hang out with the security guard at one point, and outside of the time that him and Jenna were sitting around the campfire, he was off by himself a lot of the time, and Miss Heard was over at the campfire with her friends and seemed to have a good time.
And if you haven't already, can you generally describe for the jury your observations of Ms. Heard that evening?
Yeah, she seemed to be having a really nice time with her friends around the campfire, and yeah, everyone was in a pretty good mood.
Did there come a time in the evening that you observed Mr. Depp and Ms. Heard have a disagreement or an argument?
Yes. I was speaking with Mr. Depp, just one-on-one, talking about Hicksville, and Ms. Heard came over and she said that I want to talk to you, and seemed really upset about something. So I went and back in the house because it was really, they went off on their own, and she started yelling at him, and I didn't want to hear it. It honestly was really triggering because I've been in a emotionally abusive relationship before.
Objections. Move to strike.
What's the objection?
You're up. You may be reproached.
Okay, sure.
Why can't you just say what the dadgum injection is, Elaine? There's not a bar trailer up there, for Pete's sake. Sorry. Elaine works my nerves. I'm sorry, you guys.
Mr. Knight, will you please just explain for us what you observed when you saw Mr. Depp and Ms. Heard having an argument?
Yes. So Ms. Heard asked him to go talk off to the side, and she was upset at him, and she was yelling at him. And I personally had been in.
Objection.
All right, I'll sustain the
respond.
objection.
Okay.
If you could just explain to the jury what you observed when you saw Mr. Depp and Ms. Heard having an argument.
Okay. He was kind of cowering and seemed almost afraid, and it was really like odd to see because he was older than her, obviously. So, but I just went back in the house because I didn't
Objection
want
to what he did.
All right, I'll sustain as to.
Understood. So after you observed the argument, fair to say you went back to to your house on
to.
site?
Yes, I did. Yeah.
What happened after that?
So when I saw Mr. Depp on my next rounds, he apologized profusely and said, "I'm really sorry about that." She was upset. because-
Objection, Your Honor, hearsay.
Sustain. Next question.
What, if any, type of reaction did Mr. Depp have?
He was just really.
Objection, Your Honor, hearsay. He's going to say it again.
It's the reaction, it's not the statement.
All right, if you could make that clear, that's
Yeah,
fine.
just what type of physical reaction did Mr. Depp have after the argument between Mr. Depp and Ms. Heard?
He honestly, throughout the rest of the night, became a lot more quiet and was just very more petulant. In the beginning of the night, he was a lot more outgoing and extroverted, and throughout, as the course of the night went on, he was less and less so and more quiet.
Did you observe any of the guests consuming alcohol while on the property?
I assume they were. I mean, people had cups and there was alcohol set up in the bar trailer, but I didn't physically see them pour alcohol into their cup and cup go into the mouth per se.
Did you witness Mr. Depp drink any alcohol that evening?
I couldn't say.
Anything about Mr. Depp's demeanor that made you think he was perhaps intoxicated?
Yes, as the night went on, I am a former bar owner, so even though I wasn't drinking that night, I'm very familiar with the signs. So just as the night went on, like I said, he became more and more quiet, but he also, as we would have conversations, his head would kind of sway a little bit back and forth, which was a little, he was much less sharp than he was earlier in the night.
Did Ms. Heard appear intoxicated to you?
She did. She seemed, I think when she was angry at him, it seemed like she was intoxicated, but that's just based on my experience and my own personal trauma dealing with abuse.
Objection, Your Honor, move to strike.
All right, I'll sustain the objection. We'll strike it from the record. Please disregard that testimony.
Did you observe anyone do or take drugs?
I did not.
Did you witness Mr. Depp and Ms. Heard interact other than the argument that you previously described for the jury?
At the end of the night, I heard a commotion. I was inside the house and came out. I couldn't tell what was going on. And Mr. Depp and Ms. Heard were having a discussion about I'm not sure what, but then they went to their trailer. At that point, a lot of people had already gone to bed. So it just kind of petered out. Everyone went to bed, including myself, and I didn't hear anything else the rest of the night.
What time did the evening come to an end?
I'd say it was almost around 3 a.m.
Did you ever see Mr. Depp grab anyone?
Objection,
evening?
leading.
Sustain.
Did you ever see Mr. Depp become physical with anyone?
Objection, leading.
Sustain. Next question.
Did you ever witness Mr. Depp get angry that evening?
Objection, leading.
Sustain.
What, if anything, happened the next morning?
The next morning, we have checkout at noon at the time before COVID. And so around 11 o'clock, one of my innkeepers let me know that there was some damage.
Objection, hearsay.
Did something happen that caused you to go to Mr. Depp and Ms. Heard's trailer?
Yes, I was informed that.
Objection, hearsay.
It's not being offered for the truth, Your Honor. I mean, may we approach on this
Okay,
one topic?
sure.
Thank you. What, if anything, happened the next morning, Mr. Knight?
The innkeepers let me know that there was some damage in one of the trailers, and it happened to be Mr. Depp and Ms. Heard's trailer. So I wanted to inspect the trailer because I was extremely worried. All those trailers that Steve and I worked on were like my babies, and the one they were staying in was the only one that was mostly original and restored 1950s style, and so I was very concerned.
So what did you observe when you went to the trailer?
I observed that there was a light sconce by the bathroom in the bedroom that had been broken off the wall, and a couple pieces were on the floor, and they were, and yeah, it was basically just broken. The light fixture was hanging on the wall still, except for the pieces that were on the floor.
Did you come to understand how that happened?
Objection, foundation, and
All right,
light.
foundation, I'll sustain as a foundation, how he knew,
Did you ask how the sconce was broken?
Objection, hearsay.
sustained.
How often do light fixtures in the trailers break?
They break pretty often. I mean, it's not like a usual thing, but things in the trailers generally get broken because it's all vintage trailers. And I would say as much as every couple weeks, there's some incident of damage in one of the trailers. In this case, Mr. Depp had told me that.
Objection,
Sustain the
hearsay.
objection.
So anyway, yes.
Beyond the light fixture, was anything else in the trailer damaged?
No, everything else looks fine. In fact, we have something we call a piggy fee that we address to guests, that if there's anything, what we call inconsiderate or unusually large messes, we charge them extra for it for a $25 an hour cleaning fee, but they did not receive one of those because everything outside of light fixture looks fine.
And what was your
Oh,
reaction to seeing the damaged light fixture?
To be honest, I was relieved because it was not a big deal. I just there was already another light in the room. So I just tucked the wires in the wall until I had a few months later time to buy, it was matching sconce with another one in the room. So I had to, on eBay, find a matching pair that would fit there.
so there was
And,
no
once I finally
Hulk
got around to
smash?
it, I was able to get that and charge it to Nathan, whose credit card I had.
And what was your understanding of who Nathan was?
Mr. Depp's assistant.
And what did you charge Nathan or Mr. Depp for replacing that pair of light fixtures?
The pair came out to $62.
$62 worth of damage.
While you were on site, Mr. Knight, did you ever wear a mesh shirt?
No, I would absolutely never wear that.
No,
At any time during Mr. Depp and Ms. Heard's stay on the property, did you see Mr. Depp become physical with anyone?
I did
Objection,
not.
leading.
Overruled.
I'm sorry, that answer was,
I never saw Mr. Depp get physical with anyone when I saw him.
thank you,
All
Your
right,
Honor.
cross-examination.
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Knight, you are a pretty big fan of Johnny Depp, aren't you?
I am not. To be honest, throughout the evening,
Sorry, I just asked you one question.
I
I didn't ask you
apologize.
the rest of that.
I
You
apologize.
wanted to participate in this trial, didn't you?
I did not. I
You
was
knew-
asked by the attorney, and I wanted to. They asked me, and I said I'll be happy to come and tell the truth.
You knew this was on camera, that it was being broadcast to a lot of people, and you saw testimony, did you not, in this case? And you seized the moment and responded to the umbrella guy, the lead person for Mr. Depp's Twitters. Did you not?
Objection, Your Honor.
Twitters.
Argumentative compound.
Overruled.
Mr. Umbrella Guy is the lead. The lead.
You
what?
know that he leads one of the most predominant pro-Depp Twitters out there.
I have no idea. I don't care or follow the Umbrella Guy.
In fact, you do follow a Twitter called Johnny Depp Fan, don't you?
Absolutely not.
You don't? That's your
No.
testimony under oath?
It is my testimony under oath.
All right. And on April 21st, Mr. Depp testified in this case about Hicksville, didn't he?
I wasn't here.
And in fact, you tweeted in response to the umbrella guy on April 21, 22, quote, "That never happened. I was with them all night. Amber was the one acting all jealous and crazy." Do you
Yes,
recall writing that?
I do recall writing that.
Michelle, can
Well,
you bring that up, please? We're going to call it Defendants 1903.
1903.
And I'm going to go ahead and ask you to redact, leave in the umbrella guy and the date and the bringing in the Hicksville. Your Honor, I'm sorry.
Y'all, while we wait for Elaine to do and order all up all the redactions, I'm fixing to head up
she's
the
looking
Twitters
at
and
that.
look up the umbrella guy. I am
Did
so
you write and
curious
direct a piece
how
called
long this
Matters
has
of
been
Consequence back in 1999?
searched
did.
for.
And didn't Mr. Depp's first wife, Lorianne Allison, work as a makeup artist on that?
She absolutely did.
And while we're looking at that, 4 days after you tweeted to Umbrella Man,
I was Umbrella Guy.
the Umbrella Guy.
280
Well, all right,
tweets
we
in the
have
last
that.
hour.
I'm going to ask you to take a look what is Defendant's Exhibit 1903. Do you see that?
I do.
Okay, and that's from that Umbrella Guy on 4/21/22, correct?
That umbrella guy
Correct.
hasn't
It says,
tweeted
"Bringing the
anything.
Hicksville Incident accusations. Do you see that?
Hold on.
I do.
And there's clearly
follow
Mr.
him.
Depp testifying there, likely a video, right?
Okay.
And you respond, that never happened. I was with them all night. Amber was the one acting all jealous and crazy. Do you see that?
I do.
Your Honor, I'm going to move the admission of Defendant's 1903.
Any objection?
Yeah, Your Honor, we believe the first part of the, that umbrella guy's tweet should be unredacted for context.
Oh,
I have no idea what I was replying to.
It's hearsay. It's rank hearsay, and context
Your
is
Honor,
not necessary.
Your own approach.
Huh.
All right,
Let's see how many.
make that redaction. With that redaction, any objection?
He has 89,000
1903 will be in evidence with.
followers, you guys. But he's not trending. Jennifer Howell is trending. Trending
You
with
reached out to
trending
the
is
umbrella guy
Elaine.
in
Elaine
this
is trending.
Text, this Twitter, right?
I wouldn't call it reaching out.
And in fact, the umbrella guy is in Mr. Adam Waldman. Do you know who Adam Waldman is?
I have no idea.
Well, he's testified earlier that he talks to the umbrella guy.
Did he what? He talks to the Umbrella Guy?
Yeah, were you aware of that?
I honestly, this sounds like schizophrenia.
Okay. Now, 4 days after this event where you texted, Your Honor, yeah, it's in, okay, good. 4 days after that, you tweeted something pretty nasty about Elon Musk, didn't you?
I did.
Okay, thank you.
What does that
You
have
like
to do
Elon
with
Musk, right?
anything?
Objection
Well-
relevance.
Oh,
I don't know Elon Musk.
Overruled.
thank you.
So that was the context of that is that he
I
had,
didn't ask you for the context.
I apologize.
Okay, but you texted something that had swear words in it. Would you agree about Elon Musk?
Yes.
Now, let's talk about your recollections here. 45 minutes to an hour. Your recollection is that Mr. Depp actually drove there?
Yes.
What type of car was he driving?
An old one that was a convertible.
An old convertible?
I'm not a car guy, so I couldn't express the model.
All right, and your recollection was this was May of 2013?
Yes.
Okay, do you recall when in May?
Late May.
Okay. Now, you said that you spent a total of 45 minutes to an hour with Mr. Depp and Ms. Heard. Is that correct?
After the, mostly Mr. Depp, but that's after the tour and after they were checked in throughout the course of the night.
Okay. And you don't recall any of the people that were there other than Ms. Heard's sister and the security guard, correct?
I don't recall any of their names.
Do you remember how many of them were female?
I believe it was predominantly female.
Do you remember how many males were there?
I don't, outside of the security guard.
Do you remember what any of the other people looked like?
They honestly just seemed like youngish hipsters, like for lack of a better term. I know that previously a couple of them had stayed at Hicksville Trailer Palace. That's how they knew about the place.
Okay. So you don't recall seeing how much anybody had to drink that night, correct?
I did not witness that.
And do you recall the use of drugs at all?
I did not witness that.
Okay. Were you sitting at any point with these people at the campfire?
I was not.
And when you said that that you saw Ms. Heard and Mr. Depp, and Ms. Heard was yelling at Mr. Depp. Where were they?
She pulled him for a chat, and it was off towards their trailer, like a little bit off towards the dirt.
How many feet were there between the campfire and their trailer?
The campfire and their trailer,
Yes.
approximately 75.
Okay. So where in that 75 feet did Ms. Heard pull Mr. Depp and yell at him and he cowered?
20
Okay. 20
from the campfire.
From
not
the
trailer.
campfire.
Yeah.
So your testimony is that Ms. Heard grabbed Mr. Heard, pulled him 20 feet over, yelled at him, and he cowered.
She
That's-
called
that's
him
what I
Mr.
witnessed.
And then
Turd,
did they go
y'all.
back?
I went inside the house.
So you don't know whether they returned to the campfire or they returned to their trailer.
I do not.
Okay. And do you know whether there were any disagreements or physical communications, anything of that nature at the campfire?
I do not.
Do you know whether Mr. Depp did anything to anybody else at the campfire?
I didn't see anything.
Okay. Do you know whether Mr. Depp grabbed anybody's wrist and asked them if they knew how many pounds of pressure it took to break their wrist?
I wasn't there the whole time.
Okay. Is it your testimony that Mr. Depp and Ms. Heard went last to their trailer? Everybody else went before them?
The rest of the people, I think about half of them had already gone to bed, and they went, it was all around the same time at the end of the night that the rest kind of scattered. There might have been a couple of people that went right after them or right before, but it was all around the same time.
Okay, so your recollection is that when Amber and Johnny Depp went back to their trailer, that dissipated, everybody then left at that point.
Yes.
Okay, now, how far away was your house that you were staying in from the trailer that Amber and Johnny Depp were staying in?
I'd say it was about 75 feet away.
Okay, and the next time that you saw or heard anything was when you went there in the morning and saw the broken sconce, is that
Yes, I
correct?
didn't hear anything after I went to bed.
Okay, and that's the extent of your knowledge?
Yes.
Okay, I have no further questions.
All right, redirect.
Get it, Camille.
Mr. Knight, how did you get involved in this trial?
I got a text from one of our old employees who I didn't talk to for
Objection,
years.
hearsay?
How is that hearsay?
Don't tell us what the text said, just how did you
Okay,
get involved?
I got a text from, I got a,
That's still hearsay, you're under
Okay.
objection.
Overruled.
Thank you. Go on, Mr. Knight.
I was asked
No,
if it
no,
was,
I'll
Objection,
sustain that.
hearsay?
apologize.
What did you,
I got a
what did
text,
you received a text? Okay.
yes,
From
and
whom?
from a former employee.
And how long had it been since you had heard from this former employee?
Approximately 5 years.
And did you contact Mr. Depp or any of his attorneys?
Objection, leading?
Overruled.
I did not.
How did you get in touch with Mr. Depp's attorneys?
They got in touch with me.
Objection, hearsay?
Overruled.
That's
Oh,
not
yeah.
hearsay.
They reached out to me.
Okay, sorry.
It's okay.
I don't have an objection right now.
Thank you.
It's only if you talk more.
Calm down, Elaine.
Next question.
And how do you feel about participating in this trial?
Objection, relevance?
You
Extremely
open-
relevant considering that they have accused him of being,
Overruled.
thank you.
How do I feel about it?
Yeah.
I'm happy to tell what I saw, and that's the extent of it. I really don't care outside of that.
Thank you very much, Mr. Knight. Nothing
All
further.
right, I assume this witness is not subject to recall, is that correct? All right, so you're free to go. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh,
All right,
boy.
your next witness? Or is it going to be a deposition or is it?
Apologies, Your Honor. Thank you. Dr. Shaw.
Okay,
Thank you.
Dr.
Calls
Shaw.
Dr. Shaw.
Okay, Dr. Shaw?
All right, you guys. So we're going to end it there because this is what I think. I kind of believe him. I believe if he'd have wanted to be involved in this trial all along, wouldn't he have found a way to reach out to Johnny Depp's team? I mean, he owned the trailer park, right? He certainly is somewhat still in contact with people who are still there. And certainly he would have records from his time as an owner of the trailer park, right? So wouldn't he could, in theory, if he was desperate to take the stand and participate in this trial, as Elaine is alleging, right? Couldn't he have gone through his files and found the contact information? I mean, for Pete's sake, Elaine, that I hope you stretched before you made that reach, because you're going to pull something. Slow down, ma'am. Sheesh. And I think that he's telling, listen, you can, okay, let me start with the beginning of his testimony. Okay. When he testified about the trailer park and the bud and breakfast. Okay. You could tell from I could tell, not you, me, I could tell from his testimony that restoring those two places was a labor of love. Okay. And if the Hulk smash level of damage had been done to the trailer that Johnny Depp and Amber Heard were in that night, he would have charged them. I mean, come on. That's ridiculous. This is why I find him compelling, and this is why I believe him, because it has a kernel of truth. It has not kernel, ring. It has the ring of truth to it. And he doesn't know who that umbrella guy is, for Pete's sake. I don't know who that umbrella guy is. If I hadn't heard his name today on the trial, I would never have gone and searched that umbrella guy. So, and I follow all kinds of stuff about Johnny Depp. I follow all kinds of stuff about all kinds of things. But if he was what Elaine is alleging, he would have been suggested to me as a person to follow, because I follow stuff that is related to Johnny Depp. He would have come up in my, recommendations, as it were, although Twitter calls it something else, but you know what I'm saying. So, yeah, I'm glad to see this is an important witness, and I'm glad they chose to use him as a rebuttal witness. But also, all of the rebuttal witnesses today, I haven't seen the last one, and I'm kind of tired, so probably not going to watch the last one, but all of the rebuttal witness has been amazing. I didn't even know who he was, Nonstop Mom. I had no idea. None. And what I'm saying is that all social media works similarly. They all work based off of, an algorithm. So whatever it is that you're searching, whatever it is that you are liking, whatever it is that you are following, all of those things, they recommend stuff to you. All social media does. Facebook does it, YouTube does it, Twitter does it, Instagram does it to an extent, and the TikToks, it's I mean, I it is what it is. But I thought the rebuttal testimony today was amazing, because they essentially dismantled Amber Heard's defamation case piece by piece. They started with the person who would be in charge of renewing a contract, issuing a contract, et cetera, et cetera. And not only that, but I don't know if he'd be in charge of that part, but he would be privy to the goings on during filming. You know what I mean? So I thought it was good that they started there and worked their way through all of the things to dismantle the defamation case, Amber's defamation case against Johnny Depp. Now, what I'm curious about is who is going to come up tomorrow, tomorrow is Wednesday, and it's my understanding that they have to be done by the 27th of May, which is Friday. So I'm really curious who they're going to finish up with. because I suspect, so I don't think they used up their entire 8 hours today, because before the first witness was ever called, or how, I guess it wouldn't be 8 hours. They were there from 9 to 5:30, which is 8 hours, with an hour and a half lunch, or lunch and 2 15-minute breaks. So 8 minus 1 is 7. So what? 6.5 hours total of testimony. And I I forgot what I was saying. I got distracted by chat. But anyway, they haven't used up the remainder of their time, and Amber Heard's side barely has any left. So I'm very, very curious how they're going to wrap up their rebuttal witnesses, because they've done an excellent job, like I said, dismantling the defamation portion of her lawsuit. They have this gentleman on, Mr. Knight, to refute a couple of things. One, who was the aggressor in the at Hicksville. Two, the amount of damage that was done to the trailer. So that was excellent. I'm hoping that they bring it back to the Washington Post, the op-ed article, as they wrap it up, because again, that's the crux of the entire case, right? That's the hugest element. That's the biggest part of it. That's why we're all here. So I really hope that they bring it back to that. But anyway, thank you guys. It's been a long day. It has. And I will be back with you guys tomorrow morning, bright and early. I always schedule the live for 9 o'clock, but I end up usually going live about 8:45, just so we can chit chat a little bit before the trial starts. So I want to thank you guys all so much for being here. Thank you to my mods. I appreciate all of you, each and every one of you. And I will see you in the morning. And if I don't see you in the morning, then I'll see you tomorrow night, hopefully. All right. You guys take care, and hug your, after what happened today in Texas, say a prayer for those families, and hug your loved ones just a little tighter tonight. All right. Good night, you guys. I'll see you tomorrow. Okay. Bye.